Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to do a news story. And I want to talk about the Tyre Nichols case. And Tyre Nichols was from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to title this video, What Happened to BLM? What happened to BLM? Now, I mention that because during the George Floyd case, BLM was all over the place. They were destroying cities from state to state, particularly in blue states. After George Floyd was killed. But this case out of Memphis is a little different. Now, there's a video out. The video is very graphic. I'm not going to show the video because it will be struck down, and I don't want my channel to be struck down. However, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this AP News case, or AP News story, which is Associated Press from Memphis, Tennessee. Again, where is Black Lives Matter? It seems to be everywhere else. You have prominent attorneys like Ben Crump. Now, Ben Crump might be affiliated with this story as well. I don't know. But this is a story that needs to be talked about. And right now, nobody on YouTube is talking about it. But I'm going to talk about it. And if anybody else wants to go into further depth, that's also fine. But we need to talk about this story because when it comes to topics here in Black YouTube, many people do trending topics. You look at the Shaquilla Robinson story. That story was talked about for a month. You don't hear about it anymore. And I don't even know if the perpetrators were caught. But this story with 29-year-old Tyre Nichols involves police officers. Now, again, police officers out there, a number of you are good, but you're going to have to tell some of your fellow police officers that they either need to resign or they need to take any other consequences if they're committing criminal acts such as police brutality. And that's exactly what happened to this gentleman from a traffic stop. Now, I don't know everything that went on during a traffic stop, but go watch the video. His name is Tyre Nichols. He was a 29-year-old African-American man from Memphis, Tennessee. He was bludgeoned to death, beaten like a piñata. If you're not familiar what a piñata is, it's a paper mache, looks like an animal. It's got candy inside of it. You blindfold a person. They try to break it open with a bat, a golf club, anything to penetrate this casted material so they can get what's inside of it out. Now, with what's going on with police brutality, and we know it takes place, and again, this is not a knock at all police officers, but there are a number of them out there who are dirty. And to you police officers out there who did this to this young man, this is why a number of individuals, particularly on the left, want to defund the police. I mean, it's outrageous. And I saw the video myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and read to you this article. And up here, here's Ben Crump right here. So he is part of the story. Now, Memphis, Tennessee, and this is from AP News. There are other news sources out there, but I generally use AP because Associated Press is still pretty good news media, or the New York Post, but the liberal media sites I don't use. But let's get into this now. Memphis police officers beat motorist Tyre Nichols for 3 minutes, treating him like a human piñata in a savage encounter reminiscent of the infamous 1991 police beating of Los Angeles motorist Rodney King. Attorneys for the family said Monday that this happened. Now, again, attorney Ben Crump said police viewed the video by the family on Monday, and it showed that Nichols was shot, pepper sprayed, and restrained after the 29-year-old FedEx worker and father was pulled over for 7 minutes from his home while returning from a suburban park where he had taken photos of the sunset. Another attorney Ramanushi, said that Nichols, who was black, was kicked before Crump stopped him from saying more. Now, Crump said Nichols' family agreed to investigators' request to wait a week or two before making the video public, to make sure to give his family what they want most, and that is justice. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy said in a statement Monday that investigators don't want to risk compromising the investigation. Crump said the video shows the encounter was violent and troublesome on every level. Minucci called it savage and out of proportion to the alleged offense. Now, the city has been on edge about the release of the police footage because of the possibility of unrest. Now, Nichols' stepfather, Rodney Wells, asked if there were protests, that they would remain peaceful, saying that violence is not what Tyre wanted and won't bring him back. Now, Nichols, described by his family, was a good kid. He loved skateboarding, photography, and his 4-year-old son. He was arrested after officers stopped him for reckless driving. Police said in a statement after the encounter that a confrontation occurred as officers approached the vehicle and Nichols ran. It said officers caught up to him and that another confrontation occurred. While they were taking him into custody, police said Nichols complained of shortness of breath and was taken to the hospital, where he died 3 days later. Now, relatives have accused the police of beating Nichols and causing him to have a heart attack and kidney failure. Authorities have only said that Nichols experienced a medical emergency. Now, the U.S. Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation. Again, the U.S. Department of Justice, or the U.S. Justice Department, has opened a civil rights investigation into the arrest, and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is looking into whether excessive force was used. Now, let's go to the video. And this is Tyre's mother. Fair use. Fair use. Now, this is Tyre's mother speaking after her son was killed by police. Now, again, should there be some rioting going on in Memphis, Tennessee, or some type of protest? Now, if we're talking about police brutality, this is the question I have to ask. Where is Black Lives Matter? If Black Lives matter when it comes to Black lives, should it matter for Black men just like it matters for Black women? I mean, you look at the George Floyd case. The George Floyd case went worldwide, but this case has not gone worldwide. And I've actually seen the video of this young man who was a FedEx driver. According to the police, there were 2 confrontations. I don't know of any confrontations because I don't have any tape. But all I can go by is what I'm hearing the mother say, Ben Crump say. Now, I'm not taking all with a grain of salt either, because there has to be an investigation. But what I'm saying is, where's BLM? I mean, one guy who was a thug who had 3 funerals and golden caskets. The whole nation was up in arms, and we were during the COVID years of 2020, and it was an election year also. But where's the outrage? Now, I know only the individuals in Memphis know about this, but should this story get national attention? I mean, George Floyd did. Let's continue. Now, let me stop the video again. This young man was killed by police roughly 240 feet from home, so that's not far off, almost the length of a football field. But what would make the police commit this kind of abuse? Did 29-year-old did he resist arrest? I don't know. But again, with all cases, they have to be investigated. And you know, I'm not knocking police, but police have killed some innocent people, regardless of color. So I'm not putting race on this, because there was a white gentleman that was killed in Arizona by police. There was one that was killed in Dallas. So before anybody goes on and has a rant of racism, no, it happens in every race. Wrong is wrong. And if the police abuse this gentleman, something needs to happen to these police officers. Let's continue. And what you're listening to is the mother. And the mother's talking about what happened to her son. Let's continue. Fair use. Now, again, what you're listening to is a press conference by the 29-year-old's mother. Now, again, was it drugs? What was the reason for the traffic stop? Again, I'm just getting bits and pieces of information, and I'll get more into it when I have more information. But we have to start piecing the puzzle together. Are the police guilty? The question is also, did this gentleman resist arrest? I mean, do police abuse their power? Some do, and some don't. Now, there are a number of good police officers out there, but you have some shady ones out there as well. Let's continue.
It's because it's not even real to me right now. I don't have any feelings right now.
Fair use.
I don't even know how to, I don't know
And I apologize for the first round of that video. I couldn't get the sound out, so I'm replaying the video. This is a press conference of Tyre Nichols' mom, the 29-year-old that was murdered in Memphis, Tennessee, approximately 2 minutes from his house. Listen to his mother talk about her son and the police abuse or the Rodney King style beating. Let's hear what she has to say. Fair use.
Anything right now. All I know is my son Tyre is not here with me anymore. He will never walk through that door again. He will never come in and say, "Hello, parents," because that's what he would do. He would come in and say, "Hello, parents." All my son was trying to do was get home.
Yeah.
That's all he tried to do was come home. He was 2 minutes from the house when they stopped him.
Now, again, I have to go back and ask the question, why did they stop him? I mean, now there are police officers out there who will harass you for no reason. I know I was coming home when I was young from Bob's Big Boy, and I lived in Howard County, Maryland, had the same problem. Now, I'm not going to get into the racial aspect of this case because I don't know everything about this case. However, we need to know what happened out there. There's a video floating around again of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols, how badly brutalized he was. You can go check the video out yourself. I'm going to continue with this press conference, and then I'm going to get into the article again. Fair use.
He was less than 80 yards away when they murdered him. Yes, I said murder.
That's right.
Because when I walked into that hospital room, my son was already dead. The hospitals, they kept him alive, or they put him on the breathing machine just for my satisfaction, I guess.
For their satisfaction.
But my son died on January 7th. The doctors pulled the plug on.
Now, again, the son was in the hospital. He had already passed while in the hospital. Now, this reminds me of Michael, not the basketball player, Michael Jordan, but I think it's Michael B. Jordan, who played Creed. The same thing happened in Oakland, California, at a train station where he was the character that was played by Michael B. Jordan was murdered by police officers. And again, I'm not knocking all police officers, and I don't advocate defunding the police. That is the wrong thing to do. Where I'm getting at is what happened to Black Lives Matter and what kind of investigation is being done. And something else, where are all your civil rights leaders? Where are the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons? Where are they? It's in Memphis, Tennessee. But all of the activists showed up in Minneapolis, Minnesota for George Floyd. But this gentleman, and I believe he was a FedEx worker, why isn't this getting any notoriety like that story? Is it because he's an African-American male? I mean, Black Lives Matter says they're for Black lives. Don't know where they are. But they were there for George Floyd. Let's continue.
January 10th. You know,
And I apologize for the low video. This is the audio on the video.
Because at the end of the day, my son and no son deserves this at all.
And again, you just heard from Tyre Nichols' mother. That was a press conference. He was murdered by police. Now, to continue, Memphis Police Director Sarah Lynn C.J. Davis announced Friday that 5 officers involved in the arrest were fired after the police probe determined that they used excessive force and failed to intervene and render aid. The police officers were identified as Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justice Smith. Now, let me stop right there, and I'm going to tell you something. Seems to me, just with the names alone, and I am speculating that 4 out of 5 of those police officers were black. Now, of course, in all your cities, we have black on black crime. But if you think about it, even though these officers were black, should Black Lives Matter still be concerned? Don't all Black Lives matter? Let's continue. Oh, now the article states that all 5 officers are black, though Crump said that was irrelevant and that black and brown motorists are often treated differently than whites. Hold on for a minute. Let me say that again. The 5 officers were black, and that's irrelevant because all black and brown motorists are often treated differently than whites, regardless of the officer's race, and that the pain of Nichols' death is just the same. So you have 5 black officers who utilized excessive force. They were fired. Although they were fired, what's going to happen to these 5 officers? Are they going to serve any jail time? Now, I was close. I thought 4 out of the 5 were black. All 5 of them were black. So this 29-year-old African-American male was killed by 5 black officers. And you have Ben Crump, and he's all over the place. He loves to get on the camera. He's a civil rights lawyer. And he's saying, although these officers killed that black man, black and brown motorists are often treated differently than whites, regardless of the officer's race. Okay, let's say that's true. Should these 5 black officers get the same penalty that the officers in the George Floyd case got, even though they're black? You see, this is the problem with the media, too. This is what went down with the Trukella Robinson case. See, if the perpetrators are black, nobody wants to talk about that. Now, if they were white, it'd be all over the news. And that's what's going on here in Memphis, Tennessee. And shout out to the cussing pastor, Thaddeus Matthews. He actually has done some footage on this case. Regardless if the officers are black, they should be held to the same standard that any white officer for using excessive force. Now, as I move on, Nichols' stepfather, Rodney Wells, who said the family wants the officers charged with first-degree murder, told reporters that his stepson had good reason to run from the officers. All right, he ran from the officers. Now, I want to say this. Brothers, if you're caught, just take the fire. Do not run. If you run, you may get a bullet in your back. Now, the stepfather is saying that he had a good reason to run. Okay, why did he run? See, if you're running, it makes you look guilty. Now, I'm just using common sense here. But again, you got the stepfather here saying he wants the officers charged with first-degree murder, but yet his stepson had a good reason to run. Okay, is that cognitive dissonance or hypocrisy there? Okay, They were charged with murder, but yet his stepson had a good reason to run. That doesn't make any sense to me. And this is a problem when you get some black folk out there with a microphone. They get very emotional. They don't look at anything with logic. They have to look at the case, investigate the case. Now, first of all, again, why did this gentleman get pulled over? Was it because of drugs? I don't know. I don't have any information on that. I'm just doing this story because he was murdered by 5 officers in Memphis, Tennessee, and nobody is covering this story. So let's move on. The stepfather says, our son ran because he was scared for his life, Rodney well said. And when you see the video, you'll see why he was scared for his life. Attorney said Nichols can be heard on a video crying out for his mother. Rovan Wells said that on the day of the arrest, her son was looking forward to a chicken she was going to cook for dinner that night. And she says, all my son was trying to do was get home, said Wells, who sobbed during a news conference and told reporters Nichols was less than 83 yards from home when Memphis police officers murdered him. So, that being the case, he was close to home, but there's still some holes that need to be filled. Why did he run? Why did it take 5 officers to arrest one man? Did Tyre Nichols have any weapons on him? You don't hear that in the story. Now, the mom says, we're going to get justice for my son, Tyre, if that's the last breath I take. Again, she says, we're going to get justice for our son if that's the last breath I take. Now, that's what she said. After the news conference by the family, about 10 activists walked into the lobby of Mulroy's office to demand answers to why the district attorney was withholding the video from the public for up to 2 more weeks and why he hadn't charged the officers. People want to see what happened to Tyre, activist Pamela Burris said, and we're angry about it. The Nichols case is the latest high-profile death to rattle the city. Since November 2021, Memphis has seen the fatal shooting of rapper Young Dolph in a daytime ambush at a bakery, a crime rampage in which a man has been charged with fatally shooting 3 people and wounding 3 others, the other killing of a United Methodist Church pastor during a carjacking in her driveway, and the early morning kidnapping of a jogger whose body was found later near a house. Now, again, I'm just going to say this. What happened to Young Dolph, what happened to a lot of these rappers, it's a shame. But you got to be careful to who you're hanging out with. But for this brother, 29-year-old Tyre, I just say Tyre, it's a shame that the police took his life. Now, I believe that with politics, the DA could be very, very slow with the investigation. Are they covering up something? And see, when I don't have a lot of information, you speculate, and I'm holding back speculation because my questions that I keep asking are, why did this 29-year-old run from the police officer? Now, again, scared for his life. Yes, some people are scared, but the last thing you want to do is run from a police officer. And again, to all you brothers out there, if you're going to get stopped, let me tell you this. Number 1, make sure you don't have a record. Number 2, if you're given a command, you follow that command. And if you get taken downtown for something, let the system work out for you. Don't try to be a hero, then you get 0. Certainly, it can be a scary thing. I've had police follow me. And if they want to pull me over, they can pull me over. I don't have a record. Now, again, you do have some police officers who abuse their power. And this is not a slap against the police, because regardless of what is said, we still need police officers, especially for neighborhoods that have a lot of crime. Now, for the elites out there, they can afford their own security force. But we do need police officers. We need police officers who aren't going to abuse their power. And these were 5 Black police officers. They haven't been found guilty or anything. They've just been fired from their jobs. Now, this is going to be an ongoing case. And as I get more information, I will go forward with putting up the information. Now, again, you got to go see the video of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols yourself. I don't want to get my channel struck down, so I'm not going to show the video. I did show the family conference about the death where his mother was talking. That's as good as it's going to get here. But again, when it comes to police officers, I don't want to use the deaths of George Floyd and any other Black or any other white that's been killed by police to say all police are bad. No, you do have some corrupted police officers. But this one, the police, they brutalized this young man. They should be charged. And again, regardless of what the stepfather said, I don't care how scared you are, you don't run. He ran. And when you run, it makes you look suspicious of something. And when you run, you're also resisting arrest. You're not following a command. And you don't have an alibi either. And what I can't find out is were the police wearing a body cam. I don't know anything. So I can only go by what's been stated up to this point. But in the end, when it comes to police officers, they're good police officers and they're bad police officers. You don't want to get caught up in the crossfire. Don't have a record. But if you do get caught, obey the commands. It's better to go downtown and have your life and let the system take care of the situation than to play hero. Because once you play hero, you get to 0. And in the end, you only live once. There are going to be police who are going to abuse their power. And I know there are some individuals who get caught out there and they have a Black and brown presence. Well, don't look suspicious either. You have a lot of stereotypes when it comes to people in general. Of course, even if you wear a suit, the police are going to stop you. Some of them have had bad days. Police are human, but there's no reason why police should use excessive force to detain a suspect from my point of view and from other people's point of view. So again, tell me what you think about the Tyre Nichols case, and I'll continue updating you on the information about Memphis's own Tyre Nichols, the 29-year-old FedEx worker who was murdered by police in Memphis, Tennessee. And that was 5 Black police officers. Again, 5 Black police officers. And the last question I have to ask you. You want freedom? Or do you want to dig daisies early in your life? We have enough Black men dying due to black on black crime every day. But these 5 black police officers, they didn't do any justice either. It's just as equal to black on black crime. Brothers killing each other. Brothers. We have to do much better with our appearance. Don't look suspicious. Know it's going to be hard on us. Know that life isn't fair. But just remember this. Enjoy your life. Don't hang out with bad people. Don't look suspicious. And if you're encountered by any police officer, just follow the commands. Don't run. Or that will be the last time you run for anything. Because after that, you'll be running to the graveyard. And you don't want to do that, especially if you are young. Life is worth living. Prevent yourself from getting into any altercations with police officers. Because in the end, yeah, they'll find a police officer, they may go to jail, but you lose your life. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some more educational content, check my second channel out, the QCIS channel. On that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone radio show on YouTube or the QCIS channel on YouTube, you can find both of those channels on Twitter. Now, for the QCIS channel, since it's an educational channel, you can also find that channel on my LinkedIn page. And I'm also begin posting some videos on Rumble. I have a Rumble account under the name 411 Talk Zone Radio Show Channel 2. It's all one word. I'll get that link out as well. And in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.